Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's funny? People say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. But I say, show me your group chat and I'll tell you your future. Because if your circle's last messages are memes, gossip, and bro, I'm so tired, then congratulations, you've already predicted your next years. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth hurts, but your circle shapes your destiny quietly, like background music. You don't even notice it, but it's controlling the rhythm of your life. I used to hang out with people who thought working hard was a disease. If you started studying, they'd say, bro, relax, life is short. If you said you wanted to save money, they'd say, what's the point? We'll all die anyway. These people could find negativity in a sunrise. And the funny part, they weren't bad people, they were just comfortable. Comfortable being average, comfortable complaining, comfortable doing nothing. And if you sit there long enough, you start catching their habits like a cold, because habits are contagious. You hang around complainers and you become one. You hang around workers and you start waking up early without even realizing it. You don't decide to change, you absorb it. I remember one of my friends. We used to joke that his alarm clock was useless because no matter what time it rang, he'd still wake up late. And guess what? Slowly, I started waking up later too. Not because I wanted to, but because that was normal in my group. That's the dangerous thing, when the wrong habits become normal, when being broke becomes funny, when procrastination becomes personality, when laziness becomes. Then one day I met someone totally different. No fancy clothes, no big talk, just focused. When we met, instead of gossip, he talked about goals, books, new ideas, side hustles. At first I thought, bro, chill, why are you so serious all the time? But after a few weeks, I noticed something strange. I couldn't go back to my old circle. Suddenly, their jokes didn't feel funny anymore. Their conversations felt small. That's growth, when you stop laughing at the things that used to waste your time. Look around you. If your circle celebrates your excuses more than your progress, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage. Your friends can either be your elevator or your anchor, and most people don't even know which one they're holding. You ever see those groups where one person says, let's start something, and the rest say, you will see? That's how dreams die. Not from failure, but from slow discouragement. A little doubt every day until you stop trying. I'm not saying you need to cut everyone off. I'm saying upgrade the conversations. If your group never talks about goals, money, growth, or learning, maybe it's time to start a new one. You don't need smarter friends. You need friends who want to get smarter. Here's something I realized. People don't change you directly. They normalize things around you. If your circle parties every weekend, that becomes normal. If they read, work, and learn, that becomes normal too. The only difference is what your group calls fun. And that's dangerous because your normal decides your future. I had a friend who said, money isn't everything. And I said, yeah, but being broke isn't everything either. He made fun of people saving money, called them misers. Meanwhile, his financial plan was hoping for discounts. It's funny, we say we want success, but we hang around people allergic to effort. We want a big mindset, but we spend hours talking to people who don't even believe it's possible. That's like trying to lose weight while living in a donut shop. Success doesn't come from motivation. It comes from environment. Put a motivated person in a lazy group and they'll slow down. Put a lazy person in a focus group and they'll start changing. The circle wins every time. I once heard about two childhood friends. One became successful, the other stayed stuck. When they met years later, the successful one said, we both had dreams. The only difference is I stayed around people who believed theirs. That hit me hard because sometimes your dream doesn't fail, it suffocates in the wrong company. You ever notice how your energy changes depending on who you talk to? There's one friend you talk to for a few minutes and you feel ready to conquer the world. Then there's another conversation that makes you feel exhausted. Same time, different result. That's not coincidence. That's energy transfer. Even your language changes. Hang around complainers and you start saying, it's not my fault. Hang around people who take responsibility and you start saying, I'll fix it. That subtle shift decides your success. And sometimes you think you're strong enough to stay the same no matter what, but nobody is immune to energy. Even the sun looks smaller when surrounded by clouds. So if you ever feel like your life is stuck, don't just ask, what am I doing wrong? Ask, who am I doing it with? Because maybe the problem isn't your dream, it's your group chat. Most people don't realize they're becoming their circle until it's too late. You start talking like them, joking like them, even dreaming like them. You think you're being yourself, but you're becoming a remix of the people closest to you. One day you say, I want to start a business, and your circle laughs. You laugh with them, but a small part of your dream dies right there. That's how powerful energy is. It doesn't kill instantly, it slowly steals belief. Then there's the opposite kind of circle, the one that scares you a little, the friend who's already doing things. You meet them and start questioning your life. They say, I just launched something new. And you're thinking, I just launched a TV show last night. But those people wake you up. They stretch you. They make you realize how much more you can do without saying a word. I remember when a friend got serious about fitness. Every time we met, he ordered healthy food, and I sat there making excuses. After a while, I started eating better too. Not because he forced me, but because I couldn't keep being the only lazy one in the room. That's the magic of a good circle. They change you by example, not by force. Sometimes the people closest to us aren't bad. They just don't have the same hunger. They're comfortable, and that's okay. But if you want a different life, you can't keep matching their pace. You can love them, laugh with them, but you have to step out when your stop comes. Your future isn't built by love alone. It's built by alignment. The people you spend time with quietly become the architects of your destiny. So ask yourself, if you keep hanging with the same people, where will you be in the future? And if that picture doesn't excite you, maybe it's time to redraw it. One of the hardest parts of growth isn't changing your habits, it's changing your circle. When you improve, people don't clap, they question you. They say, you've changed. Of course you did. Growth looks like betrayal to people who've stopped growing. You don't have to find perfect people. Just find people who value progress more than comfort. People who talk about ideas, not just others. One real friend who pushes you forward is better than many who keep you comfortable. Your circle is the invisible hand shaping your destiny. Choose carefully, because one day you'll either say, I made it with my friends, or I would have made it if I had better ones. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends.